Hi, fifth grade. So we're going to get started with lesson 80 of grammar. You need to be on page 425 of your grammar book. I am trusting that you have read the grammar lesson in its entirety and my instructions from Jupyter. So our vocabulary today are the words docent and curator. A docent is a tour guide. So for example, on our tour of the Arboretum, the docent explained where each tree and plant originated. Curator. A curator is someone who oversees, often at a museum or historical site. For example, the museum curator asked us not to touch the ancient artifacts. So a docent would be somebody who would give public tours, usually someone we would talk to if we were on a field trip. The curator would be somebody who decides what's going to be in the museum and where it's going to be placed. We'd be less likely to see that person if we were on a field trip. Right. Lesson 80 is about quotation marks. Quotation marks part 1. A direct quotation gives a speaker's exact words. It's writing down what someone said word for word. Okay? When we have a direct quotation, we enclose the speaker's words in quotation marks. The quotation marks are the two little apostrophes that go around words. Right? When we have quotation marks, any punctuation, like a comma or a period that follows at the end of the quotation marks, make sure those are inside the quotation marks. If you look at the two examples on page 425, Ms. Who told me, quote, "Don't give up," and "You can do it," she said. The period at the end of the sentence, Ms. Who told me, "Don't give up," it comes before the quotation marks. That's what we mean when we say inside. In the second one, "You can do it," the comma comes inside the quotation marks. Okay? Oftentimes, a direct quotation is interrupted with what we call an explanatory note. An explanatory note can be something like "he said," "she replied," "the teacher explained." It usually indicates who the speaker is and that the speaker is speaking. So when we have an explanatory note in the middle of our direct quotation, we use two sets of quotation marks. We don't just have one at the beginning of the quotation and then at the end. We put quotation marks around the first part of the quotation, not around the explanatory note, and then around the second part of the quotation. Indirect quotations are sentences that tell us the main idea of what a speaker said without using the speaker's exact words. So, for example, we have "Ms. Who told me that I should never give up." That sounds really similar to our earlier example, but it's not using her exact words. So, think about the difference between reciting a poem and telling your parents what a poem is about. When you recite it, you use all the exact words. You are directly quoting the poem. When you tell your parents what it's about, you're indirectly quoting it because you're giving the main ideas. When we have an indirect quotation, we do not put quotation marks. Okay? So let's look at our practice. We've got a couple sentences here and we're going to decide whether we need quotation marks or not, and if we do, where. So our first one, A, my classmate Jeb complains that the work is too hard. Right, so I've written my sentence there. This sentence does not need any quotation marks. So I'm going to write none. It doesn't need any quotation marks because it is an indirect quotation. It's a summary of what Jeb said. It's not Jeb's exact words. Sentence B, He tells me that he wants to quit school. Right? Here's my sentence. And this, again, needs none. This needs no quotation marks. This is another indirect quotation, so it does not need any quotation marks. Also, don't listen to Jeb, and Jeb should not quit school, even if it's hard. Our next sentence is C. Inch by inch, everything is a cinch, said Ms. Who. Right. In this sentence, we have a direct quotation from Ms. Who. The explanatory note is at the end. So I'm going to put my, there we go. I'm going to put my quotation marks around her exact words. Notice that my comma is inside the quotation marks. Okay? And my last sentence. If you take your time, said the teacher, you'll do better work. So here we have a direct quotation, and our quotation is interrupted by the explanatory note. So I'm going to use 2 sets of quotation marks. Quotation marks come in sets. So there's going to be 4 of them. So I'm going to put quotation marks around, if you take your time, like that. I'm going to leave my quotation marks out of the explanatory note. See if I can make you see this. And then you see I put the second set around you'll do better work. And I make sure that my period at the end is inside the quotation marks. Okay? So once again, you can pause the video here and see that's what my practice should look like. All right, I hope this was helpful, you guys. I will see you back here for more grammar. Bye, guys.